Hey guys, I'm learning TFT and I'm sharing my learnings with you so that you can learn and I can learn better as well. In this episode, I'm excited to bring a conversation with Ripple Overdrive, another part of this interview series where we get to know top challenger players, how they think about the game. Ripple is part of Set 16 Tier 1 TBC. He's been at regionals 6 times regularly, 1500, 1600 LP. So super excited for this conversation. Ripple, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So first question, one of the things that really jumped out at me is how few games you play compared to other top players. And I'm curious, how did that come up for you? Like, do you have a full-time job separate from TFT? Do you play TFT full-time? How much of that is intentional due to, life constraints versus like that's your kind of specific game plan when you approach TFT and being very efficient with how you use your time? I'm curious to just like pick your brain on that a little bit more.
Yeah. Currently I am playing TFT full time. I have been for about a year. Before I
Mm-hmm.
was competing in TFT while working like as a software engineer, so I had more free time than other working people, I guess, because I know a lot
Mm-hmm.
of TFT players who work in software. But and I think when I was working, I probably played more games actually. I think when I started like doing full time TFT and trying to compete, um, like I'm always trying to figure out how to just improve at the game in the best way possible that like works for me. I think playing the game a lot, um, it's kind of I think I didn't like doing as much for a couple reasons. Like I actually really don't like playing ladder.
Mm,
um, I think like during like when we're around tournaments more, I'm mostly spending most of my time playing scrims or as much playing scrims versus ladder as I can. Because
mm-hmm.
I think on ladder it's just not everyone is like locked in and trying their best sometimes. People play a lot of ladder games, and also you don't get to queue into like the same caliber of players as in tournaments. So I just don't like enjoy the practice as much.
Mm-hmm.
And um, so I mostly play for like LP requirements and like ladder snapshots and stuff, but also like to practice and try out things, right?
Right.
But when I do like approach ladder, it is for like snapshots. So I think my games stay kind of low because like whenever I play, I also try to just make sure I place well every game. And I think the more games you play in a day, the worse you get probably. So I'll probably only have like for tournaments like 6 good games in me a day. And like
Mm-hmm.
after the sixth game, like I'm clearly like getting tired or worse at doing things right. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for climbing high to like 15, 1600, like once you get there, like your gains are way worse than your losses.
Right.
So, like one bot four can set you back like multiple games in terms of LP. Um, so I'm trying to just like the games that I do play on ladder are like the highest quality they can be in like terms of how much I'm focusing and having a game plan and stuff. And I'm just trying my best not to go bot four in those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after that, I can like study and play scrims or watching and whatnot. So I think that's like kind of how I keep my games low because one, I just don't want to play that many games, and two, like um, yeah, I think doing that is just like good for like it's kind of weird to say like having less games like can help have better LP, but that's because like you're putting a lot more focus and value into every game that you play.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when you had a full-time job, you actually played more games. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Like, how did you make the switch from playing more games to fewer after you went
Um,
full-time? Like, was that a very intentional process? Like, how did you mentally make that shift?
I mean, I think like when I was working, like TFT was more of a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
and so like of course like TFT is really fun to play. So when I was working, like afterwards, it's like, oh yeah, I get to like play TFT now. I want to like play while I can while I have my free time. And then
Right.
once it became a full time thing, I was like truly like, okay, well, this is a thing that I'm committed to trying to do as well as possible, and it's kind of my job to like figure out the best ways to improve and stuff. And then that's when I figured out like, yeah, it's a lot of stuff that you have to do working outside of the game. And honestly, like studying the game is like sometimes the more boring part.
Mm-hmm.
It is fun to like just play and like load up and like like when you're really having fun, like trainer golems can feel fun. But when you're like a full time competitive player, trainer golems is like the bane of your existence, right? Um, so yeah, I think going full time maybe focus more on like really trying to maximize all the time instead of TFT. Well, when I was working, it was more of a hobby. It was like I just do what made me feel like was having more fun.
Hmm. Can you also share more? It's interesting that you were a full-time software engineer and then decided to go full-time TFT. Very similar story with Marcel, and Marcel's the first interview that I had in this series. Um, can you talk me through like how you kind of made that transition? What was going on in your head? Like, and was it like an easy decision for you to make that trade-off? You know, like what what how did you explain that to family, friends?
Yeah,
Like, talk me through that process for you.
it was definitely like a very tough process to think about and go through. So I was working as a full-time software engineer like out of school, and I
Hmm.
worked for like 2 years, and then I got laid off. Like my team got laid off at work. It wasn't because I was being a bad employee and playing too much TFT, I promise. But yeah, and that was like around Set 8. And then so I got laid off in Set 8. I was like, okay, well, I'm really enjoying TFT right now. I'm just gonna like, because I have like severance and stuff, like take this set like full time and just play as much as I can and see how it goes.
Hmm.
Um, that was pretty much my first like full competitive set, and I got to play in like all the tournaments, and I got to like the final lobby or regionals. That was a set I studied with. That was the first set I like studied with some people. I studied with
Hmm.
DFA and Replay, and then Replay went off to be like the first North American Worlds winner, and
Yeah.
that was like I think I think that was like one of the things that really hooked me because I was like, wow, like I was like talking to him a lot and practicing him a lot, and like I felt like close to him in skill and stuff, and I was like, if I could just get like a little better, like that could be me one day, right?
Hmm.
And that was like kind of put me on this chase to like really enjoy playing TFT. But at the time, I was still like with like my family and my partner and stuff. I didn't really see TFT as something I could like do full time. It's not really like monetarily a good sustainable thing. So I went
Yeah.
back and went back to work for like another year. And then during that time, I was still trying to compete. I was like, I'm just gonna try to make both work because now I've like competed before and um, just try to balance the two. And
Hmm.
I mean, it was pretty hard. I would just like pretty much I like sacrifice sleep so that I could go to work and then play a bunch of TFT.
Right.
Um, and it was like not that was also something that was not very sustainable for my health. So
Hmm.
um, and, I realized I have to like cut back on one of the two, and it felt I think like TFT was where I found like that fulfillment of really wanting to put your all into something, and um something that you like look forward to every day, and like you see like yourself growing every day doing it. So and I really like enjoyed that time where I was laid off that I could like, kind of just like not have to worry about anything else, right?
Yeah.
Um, and because I felt so close to being like achieving well, like going to being able to like go to worlds and stuff, that I was like, oh man, like if I could get a chance to go full time and also like with the having joined like a better like a bigger study group and like having more resources to talk to since most of the study I spent like playing by myself,
Hmm.
like it'd be great to have like another chance kind of thing. And like for like half a year I was like thinking about it and like talking to like family and friends and my partner about like if I could take some time off work again and then just focus on TFT, and then kind of came to like agree on like okay how about you just like can you just like spend a year to like see how it goes,
Hmm.
and just focus on competing, not like I'm not trying to make a I think a big point is like I'm not really trying to make much of a career out of it. Like I don't really care much about like streaming or content creation and stuff,
Hmm.
because I didn't believe that's like very good for like a long term stable career, and like that I should return to like my normal job
Yeah.
eventually. And so I was just there to focus mostly on computing, right? Um,
Mm.
and then yeah, that was about a year ago. So I'm probably gonna go back to work soon, probably like after Paris or something. Um, but yeah, it's been a great ride. I think I've learned a lot about myself. I haven't gotten to go to Worlds like I wanted to, but it's okay. And I think
Yeah.
coming to terms with you know, especially in TFT, it's like I know everyone says like everyone in competitive says like like skill does matter and stuff, the luck also plays a part. I do
Hmm.
believe every tournament I played, like there's something that I could have done better. But it is hard to be like, yeah, like I'm just gonna be one of the like 4 people or 3 people that get to win worlds 1 year. Like, everyone's super good and stuff. And I think the closer everyone gets in skill, the more luck can impact things. But
Right.
um, yeah, I think you know the making that decision is definitely not something I regret at all. I think now I've like learned what it's really like to be like a full-time like pro gamer. That's like a dream I had since I was a kid. Um, and I think what I'll remember most is probably like all the people I met and interacted with along the way, and also like just the feeling of waking up every day, knowing what I want to do and that I get to do it, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's awesome. When you think about in that context of going back to work, uh, how does that fit in with set 16 and your approach to it? And is there a situation with set 16 if you win worlds in set 16, for example, like does that change the analysis of you going back to work?
I always say like every time I tell my friends like and they ask like, okay, would you ever like take this thing like full time or like would you ever stream? I'm like, I'll stream after I win worlds if I ever win worlds. um, but yeah, I mean when set 16 news came out and like they're doing the dev drop and stuff, and I was like, and also I made like tier 1 and stuff. Every time I saw it,
Yeah.
I was like really excited because it finally looks like one of the best sets they've had in a long time.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like a little bittersweet where I'm like, I kind of want should follow through with my promise to like return to work and stuff, and I think I just have to deal with like balancing the two. Um,
Yeah.
of course I would like to like when I was discussing with a partner, I was like, I do want to of course I'd be happier if I just get to play TFT all day instead of go to work, but you just get it's not really like a realistic like fair thing to do, I think.
Right.
Um, and so I think I'll just have to work on better on balancing the two.
Hmm. What What do you think will be your? I mean, it seems clear to me that you've gotten way more efficient at studying the game
Mm.
after you've gone like full time.
Uh,
What What do you see for people out there watching this who are maybe in a spot where they want to get into competitive, but they also have a full time job? What's your suggestion on the most efficient way that people can study? And maybe part of it is what works for you, but um, maybe for the coaching that you've done in the past and just seeing how other people approach the game, what's your suggestion on the best way for people who are balancing full-time jobs and wanting to be able to compete to be able to do that in the most efficient manner possible?
yeah, that's a great question. I think for learning the game, I feel like it's always important to like even when I like study a game full time, some games feel more valuable than others. I feel like it's very important to approach your games with a lot of intention on what you're trying to learn.
Hmm.
Um, like something I've thought about doing before I tried a bit was like, you know, I'll have like a to-do list of like things I want to investigate. I guess like investigate some build or some way of some play pattern or something, which involves like having to also do some studying beforehand.
Hmm.
I think you probably have to do a lot of studying. Also, not watching. I try to implement this so like not watching any streams live, only watching VODs on 2x and going to like important decision points or looking for certain things. Right, pretty much like making
Hmm.
sure everything you're doing is like you're actively using your brain and like looking to learn something from it instead of just
Right.
kind of like AFK watching a stream or playing a game. Um, I think that helped, and then also like you know make sure that you do reflect on all the things that happened and that you can remember it. Um, and and yeah, like playing when you playing and doing things when you have like the brain power and energy to do it. There's not really much benefit to. I mean, there is some, but there's not great benefit to playing tired or like. Um, it's okay to just like play a few games as long as you like get a lot of value from those, right? And then like when it comes to like LP, right, and like I always think if you can just focus on learning, the LP will definitely come after because you're just a better player.
Right.
It is like a struggle when you have snapshots on the line and um, you do need to reach certain amounts of LP, so it's like you are pressured to play in a certain way that is not that conducive of learning. That's a hard balance to make. Like the best solution to that is like to have a Smurf, but that's not something you can do if you don't have that much time.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, I think if you were to like focus just purely on learning and be okay with like missing some snapshots and stuff, then like you would get there eventually. Um, but everyone wants to play in tournaments, I think, or a lot of people want to play in tournaments, like I do. So
Yeah. When so before TPC, when playing for snapshots actually mattered for you, which may not matter as much this set, what would you say is your rough like kind of study to play ratio?
uh, well, I think so. This last set, multiple time, and I was pretty much playing for ladder snapshots, which is like low different cup snapshots. It was pretty much like
Hmm.
every week, right? And every week, I pretty much needed to be in like to be comfortable, be like in like the top 5. Um, and that's like a little easier because like a lot of people are missing from ladder snaps.
Right.
But yeah, I think I would probably play like I don't know, maybe like only like 5 or 6 games. It depends really. Pretty much like I'd say a patch comes. If I felt like I had a good read on the patch, then I just play right away and then just like play off fundamentals and stuff. Otherwise,
Hmm.
I'd probably wait a bit and like catch like the current sentiment of things, like watch some streams, read some stats, and see like, oh, like are people abusing something too much where I should play it or I should avoid playing it and play around something else. Um, and then yeah, first take every game of like analyzing what everyone else is playing to like find my path to like top pouring every game.
Hmm.
Um, and if I thought I had a really good read, then I'd probably play it a lot more. But if I thought the patch was a, like a not very good climbing patch, like there's some patches where it's like no matter what you do, like there's just some line that like people can play with little error, like little room to make mistakes that it's pretty easy to just like bot pour because they were in those spots to play it. Um, but yeah, I think it's really like just trying to maximize like the games that I can like top forward. It might sound kind of sweaty, but like because I really don't like playing ladder and I don't want to like play more ladder games, I would like actively avoid certain queues because I just like I mean like yeah, I want to play against Dish Soap because it's fun to play against him and he's a good competition, but also I don't want to play against him because I know if he's in a good spot, like that's just -1 placement for me. Yeah, like
Yep.
But wait, I'm not sure that's something that I should encourage.
Okay. You mentioned the example of when you do study that you try to watch fewer streams and watch VODs on 2x. What are other ways? And, I just posted, for those of you out there who haven't checked it out, I just posted a presentation Ripple did um, recently on early game unit strength. But can you talk more about what are ways that you go about studying and how do you split that time? How much of it is, analyzing VODs versus rewatching your own games versus, I don't know if you participate in study groups still. Like, how do you split your time across the time that you do spend studying?
Yeah, I think so. I am still in study group. I also just read all the stuff they chat about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably spend like some time reading on stats. Probably not that much time in total, like on the
Mm-hmm.
lower percentage end, because I don't like reading stats that much. But I'll like check what the popular comps are. Maybe look at like the top items on units and stuff. Um, if I think someone is good on the patch, I think that's another thing. Like some people are better on patches than other people. Like
Mm-hmm.
some people you can tell are like they don't really have like a full read on the patch, right? Um, and they're just like still in that confused state, especially in like the first couple days. So depending on how confident they look, then I'll like watch them more. Like, and I think it's pretty easy when someone like I think Kiyun or Robin will like make a tier list, and then you can just kind of start off from that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like watch a few games there. And then I guess another big thing that I haven't talked about is like game planning. So like you know this is something that I started to do for tournaments, but also I think you can do for ladder is just like try to pretty much do as much of the thinking that you can before playing the game, right? So like I'll think, okay, so how do you play what are the good first like what are the good comps? Right? What are the good reroll comps if you get in a reroll spot? If there's like a reroll augment like too much value, like what are you supposed to play from there?
Mm-hmm.
Um what are you supposed to do when you lost streak? Because that you pretty much have your option when you lost streak. What are you supposed to do from AD or AP tempo? So like which are the good AD, AP AD like level 8 comps or level 7 comps or something?
Mm-hmm.
And then like what are the good unit holds early, like getting an idea of like, oh, should I be like usually like certain one cost packages are better to hold together than other ones because of like, the current meta and what lines they go down to. So if you can like resolve all those questions, then it pretty much like streamlines your game pretty well. Like an easy example is just like on one patch is like, yeah, I will always hold this two cost like Gangplank or something if I see it because it will put me, the chance that I can like just play off that for tempo or reroll is like really high, right?
Hmm.
Or like I will just never hold these one get baited into like holding these certain one costs because they actually only play into like a narrow line. And it's better if I hold like some other one cost and stuff. And like I will default to playing if I had to take raining gold every game, right? Like I will default to probably playing like these couple lines. And of course, like if something happens and like you can change, but like you should know like what you think you can like safely kind of default into, right? So um, first that yeah, like writing your own game plan tier list beforehand for ladder, I think is also important. I think also that's just something that you should iterate upon, right? That's how you learn how to like um approach a patch and just build your understanding of like the units and the comps and stuff. So doing that with intention every game, knowing going into the game and knowing what you're gonna do instead of like waiting until something happens, I think is what I try to do more.
Yeah, makes sense. How about between ladder prep, maybe first ladder snapshot versus tournament prep? How does your study process differ between those two?
Yeah, I
Or
think
does it not?
I mean it definitely differs, I think, a little bit. Because on ladder, the I mean the quality of lobbies on ladder is just lower, right? So different strategies will perform better on ladder, I think. Like
Hmm.
for example, like last said, like Fast 9 is like something that I could probably play in like a much higher percentage of ladder games because it's easier to like, just play tempo and like be able to sack rounds because people are playing weaker boards. Um I think in tournament, pretty much like meta evolves just faster. Especially if we're like playing scrims and there's like scrim metas and stuff.
Hmm.
And you like are more confident that other people that you're playing with know how to play certain spots well. So like say in ladder, like level 1 is just like, oh yeah, like Fast 9's best comp, I'm gonna just try to play Fast 9 every game. And then in tournament, instead of like, okay, everyone's trying to play Fast 9. So of course there's gonna be like a counter strategy to that, which is probably playing more level 8. And then trying to figure out where that fits into the meta. Um and then like testing it out in scrims and stuff, I think just happens a lot more, and it just like things like yeah, they just kind of grow and evolve more in tournaments, and you're trying to play more around your opponents than you are in ladder because in tournament there's only so many opponents you can really be playing with, and you're more familiar with how they play, right?
Yeah,
While in ladder it's like you just kind of assume a general like they're playing at this level at this tempo and stuff.
makes sense. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff that I've put out in social media lately, but I'm partnering with Virtual to make some training tools
Mhm.
for TFT that's like tech driven stuff. And given that you have a really emphasis on studying, I'm curious your thoughts on if there was like a magic genie that could make the perfect, training tool platform for you. Like, what would that look like?
The perfect training tool.
Like, so that
Um,
you could do everything at maybe 5 to 10x the efficiency that you do right now.
oh, let me think. I mean, I would. So things that I want would be like if I ever want to watch a game of someone playing a certain line, or even picking a certain augment that like I don't see often, but it's like the augment is a line in itself. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really want to be able to find that game or a VOD of that game because there's so many tons of tournaments where it's like, oh yeah, like if you ever see this augment, you should click it, or if you're ever in a spot to play this line, like you should play it. But like I never get the chance to play it in scrims, and like
Right.
and also like playing it like you even if it's like not too hard of a line to find. If people are playing it a lot, then I don't want to like troll scrims by playing like a line contested. So I'll also avoid playing it. So like just being able to yeah, have a good mod finder for things like that would be important.
Mm-hmm.
A sandbox mode is, I mean, something that I think they don't want to give us, but
Right.
that'd be very useful to like simulate fights and stuff, and also like practice like rolling down and transitioning and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, those are two big things. I'm not sure what else, but yeah,
Okay, that's helpful. Switching gears for a little bit, I want to talk about the TFT Opens that you've participated in, both Vegas and Macau. Will you be playing in Paris?
I will. Yeah, are
Awesome.
you?
Yeah, I will. So
Oh, cool.
hopefully I'll see you there. But you got 26th in Vegas and 83rd in Macau, which, you know, it may be not as high as you would like, but given how
Yeah,
many people are showing up there, like you seem to be doing reasonably well
yeah,
relative to the field. Um, I'm curious for a tournament that large, and given that it's happening so soon after the set launches, um, how does your tournament prep differ for a mass open like that compared to maybe a regular tournament? And also, uh, given the size of the tournament, and I think some of the days like go pretty long, right?
yeah.
Like, what's your mindset going in, and how does it differ from a regular tournament?
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of things different. First of all, because they placed it early in the set and early in the patch, um, this is probably the most like read heavy tournament that you get in a set. It's interesting to see. I think both lands, like NA, EMEA, and Asia, I think they all came in with different kinds of reads.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't really know how to navigate that because it's like you only get so much time to practice, and people aren't playing that many games together. So part of it's like you have to hope you have the good read. But because you don't really know if you have the good read, I think that's like more reason to just like be really good at like fundamentals and like early game.
hmm,
Um, like I think in Vegas, like that's probably some of the highest APM like stage two I played because of like the units have positioning nuances, and like I was just trying really hard to like win stage two and three while I could.
yeah,
Um, so probably I focus on that more, I think, because you just really won't have much met data on what comps to play. And then I'll probably just figure out more like how to play like flex level 8 if that even exists. Like the thing is like people are gonna be worse and things are gonna be less optimized. So I feel like if we just know how to make like strong-ish boards and be on good tempo, then that's like the next best thing to having the actual good read, right? Um,
yeah.
so that's probably what I think about. But I think in a normal tournament, you should be just playing like the optimized lines and practicing on it a lot more. But we just don't have that data.
Hmm.
Um, in terms of endurance, I think that's definitely something to train on. I think like last set in Macau, um, I'll blame part of my result on I was actually so tired because we were playing at like 1 a.m. Like
Yeah.
it was
And
so
the time
late.
zone difference.
Yeah, there was a time zone difference, but still, I was just like awake like all day, and like it was so late they pretty much had to like close down most of the stuff in the venue.
Wow.
Um, they like brought in McDonald's for everyone because like they knew we were like tired and hungry. I was actually kind of salty because like they made you buy water all day, like
What?
at the concession stand. So I was paying like $4 for
Wow.
water, and then once they closed the concession stand, they just started giving out water for free. But um, yeah, I think I'll need to like carry some like some caffeine or something in case the games go really late.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just like train your endurance and just try to have like consistent game plans and gameplay. I think is really important. Um,
Hmm.
and because like the game counts are lower, I feel like it'll probably be really important to just really like inch out your placements based on your lobby every game, um, which involves more playing around tempo than like picking the right comp sometimes. So yeah, and then yeah, trying
Okay.
your best to just like adjust the design, time zone, and be well rested.
Right. How about uh playing in LAN? Like what how different did that feel, or do you feel like you just felt right out like you were playing at home? Like how much of an adjustment was that?
There's definitely an adjustment. I think I have some experience playing in like more LAN setting because I used to compete in like Smash, so that was like
Hmm.
playing in person. But you definitely like you hear all the noises, like it's like the temperature is different. Like you're outside,
Yeah.
you're not really where you're usually playing. You're on a different setup and stuff. So like trying to make sure you're adjusted to the setup and as comfortable as you can is important. I don't feel like I get too nervous or anything when I play. Um, But yeah, I think like wherever you just have to try to make yourself feel comfortable um as much as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about, you know, obviously when you go into any tournament, whether that's an open or the many regionals you've gone to and wanting to make worlds and the disappointment that you feel when you get knocked out of a tournament, how do you usually manage that emotionally and how do you use that as motivation to kind of get back up? And do you have some kind of review process post tournaments, and then also generally between sets, like once the competitive season's over, how do you kind of think about using the off season, if at all? Uh, do you have like a focus area that you want to really improve at in between sets, or even just like entering, let's say this set 16? Like, how do you think about all of that as far as like the emotional management and then transferring that into how you approach the next tournament or next set?
Yeah. That's only a big part of it that I think people don't really talk about because you don't really talk about the people who lose. But I think for me, I think for some other people too, it might not be the healthiest thing, but I feel like after getting knocked out of tournaments, I usually just like stay a little bit away from like TFT in the tournament for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes it's like you watch to support your friends or something. It just like can feel hard to watch sometimes if it's like, say if you feel like annoyed at your spots or something, like you're like you see someone who got off like a really good spot and you're like, I wish I could have like played their game or something.
Yeah.
But or maybe you just really dislike the patch and you're like, I just don't want to like, because for tournaments you played the patch like so much and practiced it so much that you can almost get like kind of sick of it, so you don't
Mm-hmm.
like want to see it anymore. So that's just some reason I usually kind of avoid watching for like a couple of days. Usually I watch the conclusion of the tournament to like see how it goes, but I don't pay attention too deeply to it. I do like reflect on like why I think I did poorly, like whether it's like a large pattern, like a it's there have been times where I feel like I just like didn't practice enough or have the right read. Other times it's like I think it's just maybe a bad habit, like something bad happened in a game. Like I think for multiple regionals now, I feel like I'm having a pretty good grasp on like how I want to play around the meta and I'm placing really well, except for like one game I just go eighth. And
Mm.
I think it's actually a pretty overarching pattern for me. Is usually I go eighth doing like a degen thing that like say like because I study with certain people, like I had an idea that it was like a lot better than it is or something, right? Pretty much like the last regionals, the one eighth I took was like I took Calculus to play Crystal Gambit Ash. I was like, oh yeah, Calculus, Crystal Gambit Ash, like this has to be good. But Crystal Gambit Ash, it was just like a first or eighth line anyway, right? So like I
Yeah.
just ended up on the bad side of that, and I just like I didn't have to take Calculus, like I could have taken something else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think I would just play the game normally, and, like ignored that, and then it probably would turn out better. Like in a few sets ago, there was like Fairy Callista, and that was also
Yep.
like a win out comp. And the one game I was like, I'm just gonna play Fairy Callista, like I don't care. Like I also just like lost the flip in 1/8. And I think all the other games I was playing more like what I felt like myself, which is like more like tempo, like um playing comps that may not be S tier, but like I was identifying the spot to play them well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like yeah, every set I kind of reflect on like how I have played, how people who I've found more successful were playing, and then see like what the gap is. And I think for the first few sets that was like full time this year, I would think like I should just play more like Dish Soap or Equation. Like they would definitely just play this certain way like every game, but like I don't play that way kind of thing. So I should lean towards that. And I think that's what I try to do, but like it didn't really work for me because I mean I'm not them. Like I can't think exactly like them. You can't be like, oh yeah, like what would Wasian do in this spot? I'm just gonna do that. Like at a certain point you're like, I'm not really sure what Wasian would do. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I even have done what Wasian would have done at this spot, like and then you're just like in this weird limbo where like, okay, well I'm not in a spot where I would ever be in if I just played like myself. And I'm also not really in a spot that I've ever seen Wasian in because I probably just didn't do what exactly what you would do. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I find, and then I think like last set after not making regionals for like the first time in a while, it like hit me like really hard. And I was like, I'm doing something like really wrong then, Um, and then I think like I took a lot of time to reflect like in that off season period on like what I'll do next set, and I was like, I'm just gonna like play more, just more to myself, like myself, and maybe
Mm,
like, and I actually like kept a little bit more away from my, I didn't spend as much time in my study group or like became too invested in their reads. I was like, whatever I do, I need to like find the confidence and foundation in it for myself.
yeah.
Um, and that made me just like more comfortable in my games as a player. Like arguable if it made me that much better or anything, but I think it's like made the path to like improving easier, which is like funny because it's like the best result I ever had was like back in set 8 where I played most of it by myself. Um, and like after getting a study group and like all these players I study who are really good and I respect them a lot and I like try to take everything they say into account. And doing that is like really hard when also you have your own views and like sometimes our views just like clash because we're all different players.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think trying to find like really what resonates with you is important in TFT. And after like this discussion over implosion, like, do you think there's like a perfect way to play TFT, or do you think there exists like play styles and stuff? And I think the conclusion we can do is like there probably is a perfect way. Like there's with TFT for what like there's an AI robot that can play. Like there's a perfect way to play, but we as people are just like not that good. There's like too many factors in TFT to analyze and think about that like you do have to like probably lean some towards some parts of the game that you have a better affinity towards than others.
Hmm.
And people there have been plenty of players who like definitely find success doing that. Like most players have like certain things that they're clearly very good at and things that they like will admit they're not as good at, right? But they still succeed well, right? So
Yeah.
like I think Dishopa's always talking about how he doesn't feel like he's that great mechanically. Like he's like he's definitely not bad mechanically, right? But that's only like on the many skills that he's very good at. That's probably one of the skills he rates the lowest, but is like fine, right? Um,
Yeah.
and he can still
Oh,
succeed.
I wanted to double click on the point that you made around the pattern you identified, on having like an eighth on each of these, not each of these, but the tournaments that you identified where, um, maybe you played a game that was out of your style, or something about that decision led you to maybe take a higher variance play than you normally would. How, and I would pose this question specifically for that example that you brought up, but also abstracted on a higher level. Um, when people out there are watching this and saying, like, okay, I've identified something that could be a problem with the way I approach the game. How do you take that identification of the problem and then transform that into shifting the way you play the game? So like, let's say that specific example you brought up, how do you extend that and apply it to set 16 so that, let's say you're in next regionals and an inflection point comes in, and like, how do you take it from like, oh, this is an issue, to preventing yourself from repeating that same thing?
Yeah, it's hard. Um, I think a lot of stuff you think about this stuff like it's easy for me to see now that it's like, oh yeah, I just like this, I did a stupid thing and I went 8, right? I think especially in competing, like when there is like some pressure and you only have 30 seconds to make a decision in TFT, um, you have to like really refine um, how to calmly make decisions and analyze things and not let your emotions take control of things. I think if I
Mm-hmm.
identify a pattern, first of all, you have to recognize like how bad it is, I guess. Like, is it a problem? Like, just like looking at any game, like, is there a more high EV way to play the game? Or even if it's not high EV, like, like flipping a game on Crystal Gambit technically is like at least a 4.5 probably. Um, but of course in tournaments, like having an eighth is like really bad. So like whatever, I just take a guaranteed fifth or something. So you have to think about that, like the outcomes that are possible if you just played a different way, and then like um how that fits into like the 6 games that you play. I think um and that comes down to like really understanding how confident you are in your game plan to play, say like take the other direction, right? Um, if you are faced with taking like just raining gold versus like trying to get like a more directional, like stronger augment, like can you find like are you confident in what you can do with just like raining gold every game? Um, sorry, I think I might have lost the point.
Yeah, I
uh,
think you're coming up with some example on how you would shift the identification of the challenge into a habit.
oh, okay. Identification of challenge into a habit. Yeah, I think like hmm. I mean, I think you have to identify the different times that you've done it, and then you have to really understand the root of like why you're even doing these things. I feel like
Right.
the hardest problem, especially this comes like coaching and also just learning, is like why do you even trying to figure out why you do these things? Like, is it a stress related thing? Is it like a confidence related thing? Like a lot of these things I do because I'm more confident in the opinion of the person I study with than my own opinion
Mm.
on this thing, right? Someone's
Hmm.
like calculated loss is the best augment in the game. Like you have to take it. I'm like, okay, if they're so confident in that, like can I really like go against that? Um, so I have to know where it's coming from, and then you have to resolve it at that point. Be like, okay, well, is that because of their play style, or they think is wrong, or if it's a stress thing, and it's like do I just feel like I can't perform in tournament to like play hard spots, and I should just take the easier like less decisions line or something like that? Um, or I guess there's another thing, like am I just like not getting enough reps or practice or like formulating a consistent read? Um, it's one thing to like figure out like why did like if decisions are good or bad, but also like you have to figure out like why you make those decisions and thinking about them.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, it could be like really external things. It's not really just like you don't understand it well. It's just like something happened that like made you feel a certain way, and then you just clicked it, right? Um, yeah.
Okay. On the subject of kind of study group and having that influence your decision in maybe a suboptimal way, what have you, because a lot of people, top players, suggest like, hey, yeah, study group's great. And I mean, you joined a study group for a reason, probably similar reason. People were like, oh, you should join a study group.
Yeah.
Um, and yet you've identified this downside of study groups where maybe you are uh, just kind of sometimes accepting on blind faith, maybe not completely on blind faith, but not necessarily understanding fully why a certain decision would make a ton of sense to someone else and it's obvious. And for you, maybe it's not so clear when you take it, it doesn't result in the same outcome.
Mhm.
Um, can you share a little bit more on what about study groups have you found to be most helpful for you? And you kind of identified some of the downsides potentially of study groups. But what are some of the upsides of study groups that you have found most helpful? And in what ways that you engage with study groups have you found most helpful? For example, like VOD reviews or just asynchronous chatting of stuff in the group, um, studying synchronously together. Like, what kind of stuff in study groups have you found most helpful that you feel like other people would benefit from?
Yeah. I mean I know I named the downside, but I'm pretty sure study groups have helped me way more than it's not helped me.
Yeah.
Like one big thing about study groups is just like volume and knowledge. Like you can only play so many games with TFT and like read so many stats and watch so many streams. So every time you have another person, that just multiplies how much volume of knowledge you have. If everyone makes sure to share the things that they find interesting.
Mhm.
Um, I know my study group likes to like stream out like their games a lot, so you can just like watch multiple POVs at once and see how games go. And if you like trust and understand how they play, then it's easier to like know what's happening in the games and like if they're making mistakes or not, or if they're playing to like the proper understanding of the comp that you also understand. You share like the understanding of the comp. Um, Motivation is a huge thing. I think a lot of people don't like playing TFT just by themselves. It's really fun to like talk to other people and um, just like play games with other people also. Especially when it comes to like there are parts of the game that maybe parts of studying that you just don't enjoy that much. I really don't enjoy reading stats that much, so it helps. Like I'm more interested in reading stats if like I'm like backseating someone and I can look up the stat for something. then I'll like be more likely to do that. Or I ask them like, oh, can you look up the stat on this, and they're more happy to do that. I know like last set like with power ups, I like didn't really want to do this myself, but I asked Degree like, hey, do you want to sit down and go through every single power up and read it and tier list it? And that's way more fun to do with another person, right? Or like once I asked Degree like, hey, do you want to sit down and watch 1 hour of like VODs for this certain comp just to learn the positioning of it? And like, you know, doing that together is like a fun activity to do. And also you get ideas off the other person, like they help see things too. So yeah, I think it keeps everything way more engaged, right? And then just like getting ideas on like what to play, and like, you know, everyone has sees the game slightly differently, so they'll be like, oh, this is like, everyone will see like, they'll say a different thing that they think is strong for the patch maybe, and then you can like try those different things and see how you feel about it. I think the important thing is like you don't have to like always take what they say as like just the truth, right? They're like, this thing's OP or that thing's OP, like you should investigate it yourself, right? But it gives you ideas and stuff on what to do. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, so transitioning a little bit, we've talked about you know, set 15 past stuff. Let's transition to set 16. So I'm curious what your initial impressions are of set 16 and what your favorite set 16 unit is so far.
I mean, set 16 is really exciting. I think I'm really glad that the set mechanic is like reasonably simple. I don't like when set mechanics have too many rules to them because it makes you interact with the game really weird. And also it's just like for players, it's like a hard thing to keep up with, like hidden rules and stuff like that. So, and it feels like they put a lot of thought into it and how to do it. This is a little disappointing to you come to terms with the idea that some sets just are cared more than others.
Yeah.
I know this set hasn't been cared for a lot. So I'm excited to play because of that. I'm excited that threats are back and support units are back. I really didn't like that every unit, like if you don't carry it, they kind of stink. So like having support units is really nice. And the tempo of the game feels better because they've like tried to make it so, you know, stage 3 is more important. Level 8 is not something that you can just AFK to. You have to think more about your level 8. Like I feel so poor in level 8 now because they made it so expensive. But I think that's good because it's like I have to make do with what I have. Right? I can't really roll down and try to hit a certain comp, which like is really refreshing. Yeah, I think I need to look at what units are available. I'm not sure what my favorite unit is yet. A lot of them are really fun. I know I really enjoy playing around Bilgewater as a trait.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff you can do with it because of like you can reroll it, you get a lot of tempo from the traits, and like each tier of the shop is like it says like the shops get better, but really like it depends on what you're doing. Because if you're trying to reroll them, like you don't care about getting the items as much as getting the units. So I feel like it's a really interesting trait to play around.
Is there a specific build unit that jumps out? I'm gonna put this on the YouTube thumbnail, so it's a big decision.
Yeah. Tom Kench actually kind of stinks when I play him. I think I think like TF has got like the most solid Bilgewater unit for me to play around. He's like really consistent damage dealer and like really good at applying utility. So
awesome.
Yeah.
TF it is. All right. And wrapping up, I wanted to talk about coaching. You made an X post announcing that you're doing more coaching now, and which I think you've been doing for some time now. Wei Jin even responded saying he vouched for you. So I wanted to ask you to share for those people out there watching this who may be interested in reaching out to you for coaching. How would you describe your coaching style and your approach to coaching?
Yeah, I mean, my coaching style is growing or evolving because this is kind of something I'm starting to just try to get into because this isn't something in the space that I wanted to try, but I've also been focusing my time on competing, and it's something I want to do like the off season, also just like have something to do. Yeah. But I think when I coach people, I mostly care about like when I talked earlier about like, try to identify your habits and why you do things, and just ask like why you make decisions rather than just saying like you should do this or you should do that, because I think the most important thing is like learning about your thought process on things. So when I have coached, I usually ask like, okay, so like how do you study, and then like what's your game plan before each game, What are you thinking about in your stage 1? What are you thinking about in your augment selection? So, and then going from there, like being like, okay, well, I think, you know, these are the things that are good, but to arrive at that conclusion, like, I think you should be thinking about these things, I guess. Um, so, and I think like, yeah, it might not be the best conducive way to like get LP fast, but I think in the long term, like just training your, critical thinking skills for like the different fundamental parts of TFT, which there are so many that you have to kind of put together, but
Hmm.
yeah, that'll just help you more in the long run. So.
Okay. And what kinds of students and TFT players do you think would benefit most from your coaching style, and or do you think you would be most motivated to coach? Like, is there a specific category of students, or maybe personality type, or just some characteristic about the students that might approach you that if someone's listening to this, it'd be like, oh, that's me, then you would be more likely to be the kind of coach that would be a good fit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mostly coach people around like Mastery GM, which I think is good because that's like a good like base of knowledge. Like you know how most of the stuff in the game works. I don't really have to tell you to like you should just read stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also people who are really engaged in learning and reviewing. Like, I feel like if you mostly just like love playing a bunch of games, but you don't spend that much time studying and reviewing, then that's probably something that would help you more than just like buying a coaching session. I guess like it helps because I can give you like direction on what to do. But I feel like it's better if you already do like spend a lot of time thinking about the game or reviewing, that I could help you like better approach that efficiently. And like I also just like talking about and thinking about the game, right? And if you aren't like too focused on like LP or something, but you have like more long-term goal with like TFT on just improving as a player across like sets and stuff, then I think that'd be good because I'm not gonna like I can't give you like the meta read and stuff, but I really just like to like talk about the game. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Cool. And if someone out there is watching this right now and it's like, oh, yes, I want to get coaching from Ripple, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
I mean, you can reach out to me on X or message me on Discord, Ripple Overdrive, my Discord. So yeah.
All right. And I'll include info on that in the description below in case you lose track of this part of the video. With that said, are there any like kind of final shout outs that you want to make before we wrap things up?
I don't know. I mean, thank you very much for having me. This has been a really fun interview.
Yeah, same.
I feel like I have so many thoughts on TFT that I just don't share that much. So I have an opportunity on that. And yeah, I'll shout out to all the people that I met in TFT and interacted with. It's been a really fun community, and I hope to like stay around for a long time.
Yeah. And it's been a pleasure for me. I found this conversation super insightful and helpful. And for all of you watching, I hope you found this conversation insightful as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.